The less you have to think about your workouts, the more likely you are to stay consistent, especially when you're juggling dad life. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about building systems that keep your training on track no matter what life throws at you. Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast. Super excited to have you here today, and thanks for tuning into today's episode. Like I mentioned in the intro, we're going to be talking about creating systems that let you train without thinking. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I like to go over anything that's going on in my personal life when it comes to fitness, health, nutrition that I think that you may find interesting. So to kick off today's episode, title of the show, the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast. So there's a little special word in there, dad. So our daughter turned 2 this past weekend, and it's just amazing. Honestly, just how fast time flies. It feels like just the other day we were bringing her home from the hospital, and it's just a reminder to myself of why I'm pushing myself, of why I'm going to the gym early in the morning, of why I want to be in the best shape that I possibly can, why I want to eat and fuel my body, why I want to strength train, why I want to go out there and run. And not that it's everyone to just be dependent on another person, but I know for me, I just want to be an inspiration for her. And I can tell, like, as she's getting older, and obviously she's only 2, but as she's getting older, she's starting to recognize things a little bit more. So when I'm running, she can cheer me on. I notice even probably the last month or so, if she happens to be up when I come home from the gym, I'll ask her, hey, where was daddy? And she'll say gym. And not that she can really understand like what I'm doing at the gym or anything like that, but she's building in her mind, okay, my dad is at the gym. And that's just what I want to instill for her. So as she grows up, I can think to my dad, where I don't know the exact workouts he was doing back in the day, but all I know is that he was going to the gym and he was working out in the morning. And that's the same impact that I want to instill on her. So awesome birthday party. Just amazing, really, how fast 2 years can go. This past Friday, went out and did a 10-mile long run. For those newer to the podcast, I have a half marathon coming up in 2 weeks. I did a marathon back in October. I find for where I'm at right now, I like the half marathon distance where I can still strength train 5 days a week. And then I can do a long run of 10 miles every other week, and that'll give me, keep me in shape for these half marathons that I'm looking to do. I don't have to tweak my routine too much. So have that coming up in less than 2 weeks now. So excited about that. The one, I wouldn't say caveat, but interesting thing is that the race kicks off at 6:30 in the morning. So that's definitely a little earlier than I've done any half marathon or any race. Usually most races I've done start about 8:30, 9, depending on the time of year. So starting off at 6:30, definitely a little early in the morning, but honestly, I'd rather start at 6:30, especially if we're talking the end of June, where who knows if we start at 9, 10, it could be, it could be super hot. I don't want to be, not that I wouldn't, but I prefer not to run 80, 90 degrees. I'm sure if you're anyone out there listening to this podcast, you can attest what I mean, where I can run in the heat, but I prefer like a nice 60, 70 degree run. When I'm running in the heat, I have to be more cognizant, make sure I'm getting in more electrolytes. I try to listen to my body more. I know it's anxiety talking or thinking, but I always worry about running when it's too hot out and my organs overheating. And then obviously that can lead to different things that aren't good. Could be cardiac arrest, could be organ failure. I prefer not to collapse while I'm out there on a run. I just want to be safe and smart. Again, hasn't happened before. I hope it doesn't happen again, or I hope it doesn't happen at all in the future, but I try just to be cognizant of when it's really hot out there, just to listen to my internal body to make sure that I'm not pushing myself or just being dumb out there and putting my life on the line for to do a 5-mile run where something happens to me and I'm not going to be there for my daughter. And again, this isn't to make excuses, it's just I prefer All that said, just prefer to run when it's 60, 70 degrees. Don't mind when it's 80, but again, just the preference is running just. But again, 6:30 in the morning shouldn't be too mad. So excited about that. This week I'll probably do a full 30 miles this week, and then I'll probably tone it back a little bit next week. Probably won't work out the day before. I'll probably take a lighter bit of a leg day. Just try to keep my legs as fresh as they can be for the half marathon and just see how fast we can go. Haven't run one since November, so should be good. That one, ton of hills, into the wind, cold, and I think I ran it in an hour 54, give or take. So goal for this one is just to continue to break 2 hours, and I feel fully confident in doing that. I think on my run I done Friday, the 10-mile run, I paced out at like 8:40. I believe you have to run 9-minute miles to break 2 hours, and obviously I had worked out an hour before, or worked out for an hour about 2 hours before that run. So I know my legs will be a lot, and my body will be a lot more fresh when I do this half marathon coming up. With that said, let's hop into today's episode, which again is creating systems that let you train without thinking. When I was thinking about putting together this episode, it's like, okay, we have systems, we have routine, we have motivation, but how can I compile this where I just want to make it as easy as possible for you to get out there, to get your runs in, and to get your lifts in. It's nice having motivation. I could go on YouTube right now and I can listen to a motivational David Goggins clip, and that might fire me up. Maybe I'll go off and sign up for a 100-miler. But I find that motivation can be unreliable in the long term, especially when I have work, when I'm dealing with my daughter and getting very little sleep, where you push yourself so hard and you get so pumped up and you just grind yourself down, and maybe your work starts to slip. Maybe your daughter's coming home or you're spending time with her after work and you're just not engaged. Maybe you're getting little sleep and it's just affecting all areas in your life. So motivation is just a tricky thing where sometimes it's nice to get a little bit of shot of injection and to get that motivation, but I can find that just over the course of time it can be unreliable, which is why having systems provide structure when your willpower is low. Systems is what's going to allow you to push forward when you don't feel like doing something. And I've mentioned this before in other episodes. There's a fine line between pushing yourself too hard and then just feeling a sort of resistance. So pushing yourself too hard can be running through an injury and making yourself worse. Where resistance, on the other hand, is not every day do I feel like going off and going for a run. But the system that I have right now is I know, okay, here's the routine. I go to the gym, I come home, I have breakfast, drop my daughter off for daycare, then I go for the run. So even if I don't feel like it, I have this system in place to push me to go out there and do the run, honestly, whether I feel like it or not. But if I have a sprained ankle or a strained hamstring or a strained calf, and it doesn't make sense for me to run because I'd rather rehabilitate or take a week off just to make sure I'm good, well, that's different. But I don't want you to get confused with the two differences of pushing yourself where your body's already injured and of resistance, because I feel resistance all the time. Pretty much every morning, every Monday morning, I get up, I feel the resistance going to the gym because I know, okay, I have 5 runs or about 30 miles of running this week. I have 5 workouts to do plus a full work week. There's a lot going on. It's easy to feel that resistance, and that system is, okay, let's get up, let's get going, get out the door, get the run in. And just by having that system in place, as an example, you don't need to feel motivated to brush your teeth. Before I go to bed every night, I brush my teeth. Why do I do that? Because it's a system. I don't even think about it. Hopefully, you don't need to be motivated to brush your teeth in that you just go out there and you just do it. But again, I don't feel motivated to do it. It's just a system. This is my nighttime routine. Part of the nighttime routine is brushing my teeth, making sure that they're clean, making sure that they're not falling apart, making sure I'm not getting any cavities, anything like that. Now, the training system that I use is having a weekly plan that repeats, and then maybe it'll have a minor tweak in it depending on the week or if I'm switching it up. So, minor tweak might be running, where I usually always run 5, 6, 5. So 5 miles on Monday, 6 miles on Wednesday, 5 miles on, or 5 miles on Monday, 6 miles on Tuesday, 5 miles on Wednesday. If I'm running 10 miles that week, I'm going to take Thursday off. If I'm running 7 miles a week, I'm going to run 2 miles on Thursday, and then I'll end it with 5 on Saturday. So I'll have my consistent plan, so I know, okay, and then I'll know which run. So on Saturday I run the same route. On Tuesdays I run the same route. On Mondays and Wednesdays I run the same route. Typically on Thursdays I'll be running 2 miles on the treadmill at the gym to get those miles in. Same thing when it comes to lifting. I know, okay, on Monday and Thursday I'm going to be doing back, shoulders, and triceps. Wednesday's legs, and then Tuesday and Friday are going to be chest and biceps. And I know, okay, my workout's a little bit lighter on Tuesdays and Fridays, where it's going to be more difficult on Mondays and Thursdays because I know those workouts are going to be longer. So I'm not going to be running as long on those days. And then on Wednesdays, I know it's leg day. I know I'm just going to be sore when I'm going to the gym and when I'm going out running. But I'd like to get at least one run in on legs that are pretty sore to mimic when I'm going out there. I hit mile 12 out of 13 and my legs are absolutely dead. I can just push through because I ran on tired legs before. But I would say the most important thing or aspect of having your training system in place for your workouts and your runs, or let me back up a minute before I even dive into that. But I know each day, based on the systems that I built, whether I'm running, lifting, where I'm going, so I don't even have to think about it. And that's the system that I want to have you put in place. But getting back to the point that I was making is that having a consistent wake up time just simplifies everything. I know Mondays, Thursdays, 4:15, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 4:50, non-negotiable. That's the time I'm getting up. I know Mondays, Thursdays, workouts are about 30 minutes longer, so I get up a little bit earlier. But if I tried to wake up at any random time and go to the gym, it wouldn't work out. I would be very stressed. I would be all out of routine. So you need to make sure that you have a consistent wake up time every single day. Treat your workouts like meetings. Now, if you had a meeting with your boss, if you had a meeting with an important client, if you were having a sales call, important meeting with a team member, whoever it may be, would you just skip the meeting or would you build your schedule around that meeting? So for me, I built my running and my lifting based on the schedule that works best for me. Similar to when I have a meeting at work, I build the rest of my day around that meeting. I make sure that I'm blocking windows for myself before my family wakes up. Because once my daughter is up, once my wife is up, once I'm at work, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe I get dragged into an important meeting at work. Maybe our daughter gets sent home from daycare. Maybe a simple routine task that usually takes me 15 minutes, takes me 2 hours to do for whatever reason. So I know that this time I have before my family wakes up, I have to block out that time to get my run or to get my lifting in. And then I have that about an hour gap before I go to work after I drop my daughter off at daycare that I can get my run in. Now, I like this routine because I know that my family can rely on me. I'm not running during the middle, or say once my daughter is up and at home. I'm not running when she gets back from daycare for the day. The only time I'll pretty much ever be at the gym or running when she's up is on Saturdays if she happens to wake up early. So my family knows that I'm always going to be there for them because I'm sacrificing, I wouldn't say sleep, but I would prefer if I could sleep into 6 every morning, but I know that's not what works best for me. So I sacrifice some of my comfort to make sure that I'm going to be there for my family. Now, I like to lay out my clothes the night before I go to the gym. So I'll lay out my shoes, shorts, shirt, socks, everything. I'll have it all laid out in the bathroom so that when I get up in the morning, I can go in and I can get changed into my gym clothes. So that way, I don't even have to think about it. And then when I get back from the gym, I'll put on my running shoes and I'll get all of that ready. So that way, I don't even have to think about it. I know exactly what I'm wearing the night before. I don't have to go into my dresser and pick out the clothes. And not that it's that difficult, but just like one less thing you have to think about. I have my gym bag ready to go. It has everything I need. I know exactly where it is. I'm not scrambling around to find everything. The night before I I go to the gym, I lay out everything that I'm going to be having. I lay out my electrolytes, I lay out my creatine, I lay out my collagen, looking for the name, but collagen, my PB Fit, and my Elizabeth granola that I have my granola. I lay out my bowl to make my granola in. I lay out my shaker bottle. So everything is just set up there the night before so that when I wake up in the morning, I can just go to the gym and I don't even have to think about it because everything is just right there. And I know I said it before, but just having your workout planned in advance or your running routes that you know that you're going to run. Maybe sometimes I'll go on a Wednesday and be like, I don't feel like doing my usual running route. Let me try something different. That's what I did last Wednesday. But typically, at least 4 out of 6 runs, I know exactly where I'm going to be going that day, and I don't even have to think about it. Same thing with working out. I know exactly what I'm going to be going to the gym, be doing in the gym that day. I have on my notes section on my phone, I have the exact workout, how many reps, and even like little notes like hold 1 to 2 seconds on contraction, pull 1 to 2 seconds down if I'm doing lat pull down. For lateral raises, I'll say slow on the way down and slow on the way up. So just really focusing on the squeeze there. Different things like that I have in my notes so I don't even need to think about it. Now, we talked a little bit about the gym routine, the running routine, and putting those systems in place. The next biggest aspect for me is my nutrition routine. Pretty much I eat the same meal for breakfast and lunch. I have switched up my lunch recently, just honestly to being bored of what I was having before. So what I was having before is I would put chicken breast in the crock pot, let that cook for a few hours, throughout the day, shred up the chicken breast, 8 ounces of chicken breast. I would have spinach, I would have red pepper, I would have rice, and a little bit of Japanese barbecue sauce. Put that into a bowl, and that would be my lunch pretty much every single day. So now my lunch is switched up where it rotates every day. I have 8 ounces of ground beef with a cup of rice and frozen mixed vegetables. So I have that about 2 days a week. The other 3 days a week, I have the mixed vegetables, rice, and then I buy this marinated chicken breast from our grocery store. It kind of comes off, so it's almost like chicken breast tips. And I just know, okay, here's what I'm going to be having. Same thing with dinner. I know, okay, Monday I'm going to be having chicken. Tuesdays I'm going to be having taco meat. Wednesdays I'm going to be having steak. Thursdays is like the one meal like, okay, maybe I'm having pork or maybe I'm having sirloin tips or whatever it may be. But I find that I know exactly what I'm going to be eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner pretty much throughout the week. Now, in the weekend, I like to just give myself the discretion where I don't have everything absolutely planned, but I know, okay, I still want to be able to get my gram per body weight of protein in. So make sure that I'm having yogurt, maybe eggs, protein shake. I throw in a scoop of creatine in there. So I make sure that I know exactly what I'm going to be eating. Even when it comes to snack time, I have different snacks on Monday, Wednesday, Friday than I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And this isn't something that you just come with overnight. It's just something that you build. You figure out what works best for you. And that's exactly what I did, where I would swap, okay, here's what I'm gonna have for snack today was here versus what I'm gonna have for a snack tomorrow. Here's what I'm gonna have for dinner today, lunch today. But I know pretty much every single day I don't even have to think about what I'm having for lunch, what I'm having for breakfast, what I'm having for dinner, because I have built those systems in place, and it just makes it so much easier. So not just going and just grabbing anything to eat, because if you're putting in the hard work at the gym, you're doing your strength training, you're doing your cardio, and then you just waste it on not having good quality food. It's like what's the point, honestly? Like, why am I pushing myself so hard at the gym and then I'm just eating terrible the rest of the time? And again, this isn't to say that you shouldn't have the occasional cheat meal. And I don't even call it a cheat meal. Like, I just like pizza. Sometimes I just want a slice or two of pizzas throughout the week. I wouldn't say throughout the week, one day a week. Throughout the week would be quite a bit. But I like to enjoy myself. Maybe I'll have a nice steak with butter on it. I'm not going to be perfect all the time, but I do like to make sure that about 80% of the time the meals and quality of food that I have is good, and that it's fueling for my body for all the work that I've put in throughout the week. Another tool I like to use to track progress is using my Garmin. So with my Garmin, I can see all my workouts, I can see how consistent I've been, I can see how many miles I've logged, can see how many workouts I've done, how much time working out that I have done. So it just makes it easy. You can go online, you can see everything on your computer. So I recommend getting, whether it's a Garmin watch or another type of smartwatch. I got the Garmin Forerunner, I believe it's 965, and I use it all the time, but it just makes it so easy to track progress when you can just do it automatically. The last thing that I want to mention on today's episode is how systems free up mental energy for fatherhood. Less stress equals being more present with your kids. I don't want to be stressed around my daughter. I don't want to be angry. I want to be as stress free as I can be around her. I didn't want to have to think what I'm doing today at the gym or where I'm going to be going on my run. I just want to get up and I want to go. And it just lets me enjoy my workout. It lets me enjoy my run. And I'm not worrying about what I'm going to be doing next. And you can be consistent and flexible when your systems are dialed in. Some weeks there's something coming up. Like last week, my daughter had her birthday on Saturday. I wanted to be with her the whole morning, so I swapped out my running routine. Maybe I have something going on where I have to do my workout a little bit differently than I have been doing the days prior. So I have my systems dialed in, and then sometimes I tweak them depending on what's going on my situation. But the biggest part about having a system is just making sure that you can be consistent. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's episode on the Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast, and I hope you tune into next week's episode where I discuss breaking through plateaus and hybrid training.